caves one by one, okay? But there are some rules here. There are some rules you have to follow in Ajanta. Have you been to Ellora caves? No. In Ellora, those rules are not there because in Ellora you can take pictures, flash is allowed. But in all the caves of Ajanta, flash is not allowed. You can use your camera, but turn off the flash. If possible, the light is provided inside. You can take the pictures. Otherwise, no pictures, right? Movie is not allowed. Movie camera, even in your mobile, is not allowed, okay? So these are the rules we have to follow here. So you know that Ajanta caves are famous all over the world only for one thing, that is the paintings. And Ajanta is also considered as the first school of Indian paintings. There are many places where you see the carving work like Ajanta and Ellora. You know the book of Persephone is very famous on cave architecture. And he mentioned about 1200 rock cut caves all over India. And maximum caves are in Maharashtra. The reason is the rock in Maharashtra, volcanic basalt rock. And these were not the natural cave. Natural cave is just a cavity without columns, without any support inside there. But they purposely made everything. They cut out the solid mountains and made the caves. They chiseled out the mountain here. And their tools were very limited. Chisel, hammer and pickaxe of different sizes. You can see the mark on the walls and ceilings here. So they started work from cave number 10, not from cave 1. This is later cave, which we're visiting later cave. So 10 number is the oldest cave of Ajanta, which is 2200 years old. That cave was made in 200 BC. And you will see the paintings of 2nd century BC also here. But in the beginning they made very simple design. And as you are the students of mine, you know there are some technical flaws in making the pictures. They are not able to make perfect circle design. Geometrical perfection is not there. Outlines are bold, quite bold. And they use maximum dark color in the beginning. And the colors in Ajanta paintings were locally available here. There are only 6 colors. But in earlier paintings, the 2 earlier temples are here, 9 and 10, you will see only 5 colors. Because blue color was not brought at that time in India. Number 9 and 10 were made in 200 BC and 100 BC. Those caves are more than 2000 years old. And cave number 1 was made after 700 years in the 500 AD. So if you see the total history of Ajanta caves, they made caves from 200 BC to 6th century AD. They took about 800 years. But they could not accomplish the work. Out of 30 caves, 15 caves of Ajanta are unfinished caves here. Because when Buddhism declined here, they stopped the work. That's why many caves are left unfinished. And no one lived here. See, the forest in olden days was very dense, wild animals were here, wildlife was here. So locals, their villages beyond the mountains, they never dared to come in the forest. So a time came in the history of this place when all caves were covered from outside. Mud was piled up, trees were grown. And nobody could think about the caves in such a dense forest in olden days. So the caves remained closed from 6th century. They abandoned the caves in the 6th century. 15 caves are unfinished. They never came back here. So they were all covered with forest. But fortunately, after 1000 years, when British rule was in India, some British army officers from Madras regiment came there. See that point? You see the mobile tower and railings are there? That's the viewpoint. They came on that spot. And they came for hunting purpose. There was a revolt against the Britishers in this region. Third battle of Marathas was fought in the vicinity of Ajanta. So they were going back from here. So an Englishman saw a tiger was entering into a cave. The oldest cave was an open cave. Because height of that cave is more. Height of cave number 1 you can see it's just 15 feet. But height of cave number 10 I will show you afterwards 45 feet height. That was totally open because in the beginning they did not make entrance like this. They made open caves. So all wild animals took shelter. So tiger entered into that particular cave and disappeared there. Englishman wrote a letter to the local king, to Nizam of Hyderabad. And after 1890, Nizam of Hyderabad came here, issued the orders of cleaning the debris of these caves. So trees were cleared off, debris were removed, leakage of water was inside, they stopped the leakage of water. So when these caves were made, out of 30 Buddhist caves, 15 caves were painted. But other places only painting traces you can see. Painting survived only in the 7 caves, which are the best caves of Ajanta for you. 9 and 10 will see oldest painting. Cave number 1, 2, 16, 17 and 19. In this case we will see the later paintings of Ajanta. Technique of the painting is very simple. Inside they had painted everything. Ceiling was painted, walls were painted, columns were painted, sculptures were painted. But they were lost and water was coming in the caves. And colors are watercolor, water mineral colors. They have been damaged by the water. Technique of Ajanta painting is a tempera technique. There are two techniques of painting, fresco and tempera. Fresco technique is in Europe, in Sistine Chapel. And tempera technique is in Ajanta. This technique is very simple. The artist initially made rough surface. Then see the mud plaster here. You see this one? 1 minute, I'll show you the torch. See, you can see here the light, the mud plaster. You see here? This is the mud plaster. Before painting the surface of the rock, they made rough surface. Then they wanted to make a smooth surface, so they applied mud plaster, thick layer, in which they mixed cow dung. Main contents: cow dung, clay, sand, vegetable fibers, rice, cover rice husk, and strong glue from the local tree was mixed in that. So they put mud plaster on the ceilings and wall. Then they painted on the dry surface of the mud plaster. That's why the painting survived for so many centuries in Ajanta. In the 6 colors, in the 5 local colors, you will find the colors were available in the rock itself. Mineral colors. Green is copper. Plenty of copper you will see everywhere in the volcanic rock of Ajanta and Ellora. Red color and yellow colors are 2 colors from red oxide, yellow oxide. White color is made from limestone gypsum. Black color obtained from the soot of the lamp, which is used for eyes also. And blue color they imported from Central Asia, 2 countries. They exported blue color at that time, Afghanistan and Iran. Blue stones, semi-precious stones, lapis lazulis were available there. If you might be knowing about Taj also, when Taj Mahal was constructed, Persian tiles are there in Taj also, blue tiles. So in Ajanta painting also, blue color they had imported in the 5th century. So the caves which are made in the 5th or after 5th century AD, you will see the blue color. If you see the caves made in 200 BC, 100 BC, you won't find blue color there. And here you can see number 1 little bit blue is there, and Persian king is shown in the paintings of cave number 1, which is the solid proof of Indo-Persia relations. Persian king is shown in the painting, his wife is shown, Persian girls and ambassadors are shown. So blue color first time brought in the 5th century AD. It is not used on the ceiling, but on the walls of cave number 1, little bit blue. In the next cave number 2, outside the cave also we'll find little bit blue color here. So wall painting inside is narrative painting, religious paintings. There are 2 types of stories in Ajanta paintings. The stories of Buddha's real life. When he was a prince, Siddhartha, he left the palace, you know about that. But there are number of stories which are all pertaining to the previous life of Buddha. All those stories are in the religious literature of Buddhism. You know, Jataka tells. You might have heard about Jatakas. There's a book in Buddhism, Jatak Mala, in Pali language. And that book was compiled by Buddha's disciple Aryasur, in which 553 stories are there. Buddha is shown in the human form, animal form, bird's form, reptile form. He had sacrificed his life many times on this earth. Then in the final birth, he was a prince, Siddhartha. He left his wife, Yashodhara, his son Rahul. Then he became the monk. So some real stories and some stories of former life, both we can see. Inside the caves are too dark. Without light, not possible to see anything. So government has arranged very special light for Ajanta, fiber optic lightings. Though apparatus are kept outside here. And in olden days, how they had painted everything without the light. Imagine about this thing also. So they made the floors like this. If you see the floor outside the cave in the veranda, you will find the depth in the floor. Here the floor is flat where you are standing, but depth is there outside and inside the cave. So it is thought that in daytime they put water on the floor. They fill water there. They had powerful metallic reflectors and mirrors. And I'll show all these in practically in the painting. Mirrors are shown in number 17. So they kept silver reflectors outside in the sun. They reflected the natural light from their inside on the wall. Then they got the reflection on the ceiling. They made main entrance, side gate, side windows. And they illuminated each and every corner of the cave with natural light, and they painted everything inside the cave. So number 1 is supposed to be the best cave of Ajanta. In Ellora, when you go to Ellora, Kailash temple is the best. Only carving work is in Ellora. When they stopped the work in Ajanta after 6th century, they went to Ellora. Two families of Maharashtra were Satvahan, Shalivahan. They were from Andhra. They are called Andhra kings. They had two capitals. A capital was in Andhra Pradesh, Amravati, in Guntur district in those days. Another capital of Satavahanas was near Aurangabad, Patan. So they became the patron of Hinayana faith of Buddhism. 5 Ks are Hinayana, and those Hinayana Buddhist Ks are without any statue of Buddha. Because at that time they thought that Buddha was a human being, guru, teacher, not a god. But after a few centuries in Kanishka's time, Buddha was regarded as a god. The people thought afterwards he was a god, not a human being. So then they started making statues of Buddha. First time in the history of Buddhism, Buddha's picture was made in 200 AD. First statue of Buddha was also made in 200 AD. Then they made 2 more statues after that, 2 disciples of Buddha. They are in the paintings here in number 1, Padmapani and Vajrapani. They made 2 statues. Then in the 6th century AD, first time they accepted god of Hindu religion, Kubera, the god of wealth, which we'll see in the second king. A goddess, Hariti, came in Buddhism. But when they went to Ellora, they accepted more god and goddess in Ellora. In Ellora, you can see Tara Devi, Tara goddess, very important deity in Buddhism. Mahamayuri, which is like Saraswati. So all those additions you see later on in Buddhism. And in Southeast Asia, when Buddhism spread in other countries, when it declined in India, they made many changes, and powerful deity in Southeast Asia is like Parvati, Eka Jata. So all those additions of female deities you see afterwards in Buddhism. So complete development of Buddhism, you can see in the beginning there were 2 sects, Hinayana and Mahayana. But later on you will find many sects. Today you can see 18 sects. Tantric practices, magic practices came in Buddhism. Vajrayana sect came to being, Tantric sect, Mantrayana, sect of Dalai Lama, so many things added in Buddhism. But original Buddhism is a Hinayana. Even in Mahayana Buddhism, we see the close influence of Hindu religion. Okay, so number 1 is the best cave. Some masterpieces, pictures of Ajanta are here. A picture which is always shown in the publication and books is the picture of Padmapani holding a lotus flower. That is the icon. In European paintings, the best picture is Mona Lisa, which is a 3-dimensional picture made in the 15th century. But similar picture, better than Mona Lisa, is here, which was made around 500 AD, in which we'll see perfect 3-dimensional effect, beautiful light and shade effect, composition of figures, highlighting, because I have passed the exam of drawing also, so I can tell you for you. So all these techniques which we see in our modern paintings, they had already achieved in the 500 AD. So outside number 1, we have to remove the shoes. When you come out from number 1, don't wear. Carry shoes. Next cave is near number 2. You have to remove in number 2 also. After number 2, you wear the shoes. There are some caves where shoes are allowed. There are some unfinished caves, shoes are okay there. And then you have to remove in 9 and 10, wherever paintings are there. When signboards are put outside to remove the shoes. 16, 17, 19. Afterwards you have to remove, at all these places you have to remove the shoes here. So we'll go inside and we'll see the cave of 500 AD. We go inside. Before going in, if you have any question, any doubt, before going in you can ask, or you can ask afterwards also. I have written a book on Ajanta about 20 years ago, Ajanta and Ellora.